For decades, it's been the ultimate dream, right? Harnessing the power of a star right here on Earth. But is it still just a sci-fi dream, or are we finally actually on the verge of making it a reality? Let's get into it. You know, in the world of energy research, 2023 is going to be a year for the history books. Because not just once, but twice, a team of scientists finally did something that has been the goal for over 70 years. I mean, look at this quote. The U.S. Department of Energy called it a breakthrough that could pave the way for the future of clean power. Pretty big words. But what exactly happened? And how close does it really get us to a fusion-powered world? Okay, let's zoom in on that incredible moment in the lab. So this is the place, the National Ignition Facility, or NIF, out in California. Inside this giant chamber, scientists use some of the most powerful lasers on the planet to finally achieve what's known as fusion ignition. And here's the headline, the big takeaway. For a split second, they got more power out of the reaction than they put in to the fuel. This is what everyone calls net energy gain, and it is the absolute holy grail of fusion research. Now, it's super important to understand. This net gain is just comparing the laser energy hitting the target to the fusion energy coming out. It doesn't account for the massive amount of electricity needed to power the lasers themselves. That's the next huge mountain to climb. But proving the basic physics works, that's monumental. And they put numbers on it. In one of their experiments, they shot 2.05 megajoules of laser energy at a tiny target and got 3.15 megajoules of fusion energy back out. Now, that might not sound like a ton of energy, but just proving the concept is an incredible leap forward. So, how in the world does this even work? Well, to really get it, we need to understand the basic science. And it's basically copying the recipe that our own sun uses every single day. At its heart, fusion is surprisingly simple. You take two light atoms, usually special versions of hydrogen called deuterium and tritium, and you smash them together with incredible force. They fuse to become a heavier atom, helium, and in that process, a tiny, tiny bit of their mass vanishes and is converted into a huge amount of energy. This is literally what powers every star in the universe. But, and this is a huge but, to get those atoms to fuse, you need conditions that are, well, out of this world. First, you have to heat the fuel so incredibly hot that the electrons get ripped away from their atoms. This creates a kind of superheated electrically charged gas called a plasma. It's often called the fourth state of matter. And believe me, creating that plasma, that's just the warm-up act. The real, mind-bendingly difficult challenge is keeping it all going here on Earth, since we don't have the crushing gravity of a star to help us out. Scientists have this term for the main challenge, the fusion triple product. Just think of it like a recipe with 3 essential ingredients, and you have to get all 3 perfect, all at the exact same time. The plasma has to be hot enough, dense enough, and you have to hold it all together for long enough. So first, let's talk temperature. We're talking over 100 million degrees Celsius. And here's the wild part. That's more than 6 times hotter than the core of the sun. Why so much hotter? Because here on Earth, we don't have a star's worth of gravity squeezing everything together for us, so we have to make up for it with raw heat. Second ingredient, density. You have to cram the atomic nuclei in that plasma incredibly close to each other. The denser you make it, the better the odds that they'll actually collide and fuse, instead of just zipping past one another. And finally, confinement time. You've got to keep this ridiculously hot, dense plasma stable and contained long enough for all those fusion reactions to happen and actually generate a good amount of energy. You mess up any one of these 3, and the whole reaction just fizzles out in an instant. So how are scientists even attempting to hit all 3 of those conditions? Well, the global effort has pretty much split into 2 main camps, 2 different strategies for bottling a star. The first big approach is magnetic confinement. The idea here is to use enormously powerful magnetic fields to basically create an invisible bottle, trapping and squeezing the plasma for a long time. We're talking seconds or maybe even minutes. The second approach is inertial confinement, and this one is all about speed and brute force. It uses something like intense lasers to blast a tiny pellet of fuel, making it implode on itself in just a fraction of a second. And this is a perfect illustration of the 2 designs. On the left, you've got a tokamak. It's this donut-shaped machine, and it's the leading contender for magnetic confinement. Then on the right, you can see the inertial confinement method they use at NIF, the one that had that big breakthrough, where hundreds of lasers all focus on one tiny point. Now, even though the latest breakthrough came from the laser-based inertial method, the world's biggest bet, the biggest project by far, is actually on the magnetic approach. And when I say big, I mean truly massive. This is ITER. It's being built in the south of France, and it is honestly one of the most ambitious science projects in human history. Get this, 33 nations are all pooling their money and brainpower to build one machine, a man-made star on Earth. And their goal is just staggering, to generate 500 megawatts of fusion power from only 50 megawatts of input power, proving this can work at the scale of a real power plant. But trying to control a tiny star inside a machine is just ridiculously hard. This simulation here gives you a little taste of the problem. The lines on the graph show the flow of energy inside the reactor. Scientists have to use these incredibly complex computer models to constantly adjust everything in real time to keep that plasma stable. If it even touches the walls of the reactor, it cools down and the reaction dies. Get it wrong for a millisecond and it's over. It's just a monumental engineering puzzle. Okay, so with this huge breakthrough at NIF and the slow, steady progress at ITER, we get to the big question. When could we actually see fusion power plants lighting up our cities? Well, to put it all into perspective, the basic theory has been around since the 1930s. We've just, in 2023, passed that crucial milestone of getting more energy out than we put in. The next giant leap is planned for around 2036, when ITER is hoping to run its full power experiments. And if all that goes well, a lot of experts think the first commercial plants could maybe start coming online around 2050. Of course, there's that famous old joke in the physics community that fusion power is always 20 years away. But now, with a proven scientific gain, with massive international investment, and a whole bunch of private companies jumping into the race, you really have to ask, is this time different? Have we finally turned the corner on the long road to limitless, clean energy?